off the back of losing our first game of the season in yesterday's episode to Osnabrück, we went back home and took on a team in the bottom half of the table, and we lost 5-0 at home. Honeymoon might be over. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 12 of the Leipzig Loko with Lokomotive Leipzig here on Sean Does FM. I hope you are doing well, and coming up today we take on two teams in the top half of the table. First up we take on Duisburg, who are down in 7th away from home, and then off the back of that what could be a big clash in terms of teams currently in a promotion spot, as we do take on Erzgebirge Aue. I'm not too sure still how to pronounce that last bit, but pretty sure I've got the first bits of those two team names right for today's episode. But if you're looking forward to these two games coming up today, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But yesterday we did unfortunately lose our first game of the season away at Osnabrück. Also did win a game before that though earlier in the episode. If you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. And since then, you will be able to notice it's a bit hard to ignore, but we did suffer a pretty bad 5-0 defeat to a team down the bottom half of the table in SCV. We got off to a poor start in this one. Our left back and replay gave away 2 penalties inside the first 20 minutes, and both of them did get tucked away. And then from there, they just put us to the sword. It was by far our worst performance so far this season. And even then, overall shots not too bad off, just not as many on target as our opposition, albeit somewhat expected when they do get 2 penalties. But by far one of the worst performances we have had here at Lokomotive Leipzig since we have joined the club. And that was not how I wanted things to go off the back of that first loss of the season. It does mean off the back of that, dynamics are not exactly in as good of a place as they were come the start of yesterday's episode, but thankfully still not in too bad a spot on the league table, still in third place, joint on points, the team that we do play in the second game of today's episode. But maybe we are beginning to come into a bit of a tough patch here at Lokomotive Leipzig, like what was expected on that season preview where we were predicted to be down in the relegation zone. Maybe we have just outperformed ourselves over those first 9 or so games of the season, and now the honeymoon is over for us here in the Free League. But one quick injury update that we do need to bring you guys before we do preview these two teams that we are playing in today's episode, and that is to our backup right back come left back in Eric Vufak. Unfortunately, off the back of that 5-0 loss, he suffered a torn groin muscle, and he is going to be out for 5 to 8 weeks, so it does mean no backup wing backs who are outside of the bench for us at the moment, albeit we do have that centre back who we did sign in the form of Zaruba, who can cover left back, and of course Linus Zimmer is on the bench. He can cover both sides as well. Still a little bit of depth there, but if we get an injury, that is going to test us like it was earlier in the season when we were missing both Reblay and Zimmer due to some early season injuries. But hopefully this one doesn't affect us too much, of course, with Vufak normally not being on our bench. But coming up today, first up we are going to take on Duisburg. These guys are in 7th on the table, were predicted to be finishing 6th, so right around about where they were expected to be finishing this season. They come into this one having won their last couple of games over Ingolstadt and Plussen Munster. Of course, those are two teams that we did beat at the start of our season, but based on recent form, they might go into that one at home as the favourites, it is fair to say, especially off the back of that 5-0 pumping that we did just suffer. And then 2 weeks off the back of that, so we might do a bit of an injury update before that second game of today's episode as well, with an international break coming up. But we do take on a team who weren't predicted to be as high as they are this season, that currently join on points with us, and that is Erzgebirge Aue. They are obviously doing a very good job of also beating Ingolstadt recently, so maybe that opening day win over those guys wasn't quite as surprising as it has turned out to be, because it does look like a lot of teams here are beating Ingolstadt in the Free Liga, but in a great patch of form, 4 wins from their last 5 games. Another tough game for us, albeit that one is back at our home stadium, but hopefully we can turn things around off the back of our last 2 performances, especially that one off camera, getting thumped by that team who are now mid-table, but before then they were in a spot of bother. You'll also notice we have gone to a balanced mentality like we did start the season off with in that Ingolstadt game, albeit clearly didn't work in that previous one where we did lose 5-0, so if things aren't going well with it, we might switch back to positive and see if that can get us back on track. But hopefully better performances in this episode than what happened off camera in that game against SC Verl, and we'll come back shortly for the team sheets for the first game as we travel to take on Duisburg. And here are the team sheets for this first game of today's episode. There are Duisburg, there you can see 4-4-2 coming to this one in a pretty good patch of form, obviously, probably with a bit more confidence than we have off the back of that most recent result in terms of us first choice starting 11. So hopefully we can get back on track here, albeit pretty similar team to the one that let us down in those last two games based on league position. Hopefully we can get a chance here to get back on track. And just shy of the half hour mark, we get our first highlight in this game. It does come there from a clearance from the opposition goalkeeper, and it is a second yellow card. That player has only just picked up a yellow there in Baccalaws, and he gets sent from the field. So right off the back of that, Lucas Search picks up a yellow, which is a little bit concerning. Hopefully FM does not equalise things off the back of that, but obviously with now playing against 10 men, we are going to go to a positive mindset, so it might not be the best game to try out that balanced mentality, but Owosu here finds a little bit of space down this right-hand side, albeit that shot is pretty weak, straight into the path of Kloss, but there's a big game-changing moment, 10 minutes left in the first half, and they go down to 10 men. And only a few minutes off the back of that previous highlight where we did have a chance off the back of them going down to 10 men, it is a free kick in the opposition favour, but thankfully we clear that and start to do something here on the counter-attack. Some nice work there from Owosu to get beyond his man, puts that one into the mixer, but unfortunately Duisburg here do get a chance to clear their lines, but thankfully Search does win that one in the air and does not pick up a second yellow card. Now nice ball there from Ricardo Grimm for Kevin Zizek, but unfortunately another shot there, which is a pretty easy save for Klaus in goal, albeit this highlight is going to continue. Heinke thankfully finds a teammate there and a lot of space in replay at left back. Now Abdulrahmane over for Ricardo Grimm, controls it, got put under a little bit of pressure there, sandwiched in between two defenders. There's a late notification of the red card, which did happen about 10 minutes ago in game, but Ricardo Grimm loves being a first goal scorer for us here at Lokomotive Leipzig, and thankfully we do grab the first goal off the back of our opposition going down to 10 men. Just blasted that one into the top left corner, and maybe that's a slice of luck. We needed that red card to get back on track here off the back of those two prior losses. And that was it for the first half in this one. Obviously the big moment was the first highlight, second yellow card there for one of the Duisburg players, and off the back of that some good chances finally capitalised with a nice shot into that top left corner from Ricardo Grimm. We are probably going to take off though Lucas Search on that yellow card. I know Eagles it is not on a great rating of 6.4, but obviously we want to keep this one-man advantage for the rest of this game. We'll just debate here what side we should actually put Mark Lampke on based on set pieces. We might actually switch him around here with Eaglezetta for this second half, and hopefully that does help Eaglezetta improve his rating, but that'll be our only substitution at halftime, and hopefully we can kick on here against 10 men and get back on track with 3 points away from home. And nearly 10 minutes into the second half, we get the first highlight of it here, and the opposition do get a chance to do something here on the counter-attack. Unfortunately, yet again, we bring a player on in our defensive area of the pitch. He picks up an early yellow card on Lamptey, but thankfully that shot there from Duisburg does come off the post. That was definitely a good chance there for them to grab an equaliser, but still 1-0 up here at the hour mark, and also might be time for us to make a substitution. Eaglezetta has not improved in the second half. Also, of course, Owosu on a 6.4, so we'll bring on Ogbidi for him. We will also bring on Piplica in place of Eaglezetta and just switch around our midfield a little bit, move Heinke back to centre back as he can cover that position quite nicely. Is the best aerial threat for us from set pieces usually, and as well as that Osman Atilgan only going okay on a 6.5. Just thinking here, we might do a different substitution than what we usually would in this situation. We'll bring on Ziani and move Kevin Zizek out to the right wing for this last half hour, but thankfully we are still 1-0 up against the 10 men. And only a few minutes off the back of those substitutions, it is a throw in here for the opposition again. Thankfully, Abdurrahmane does get a foot in, but they do still keep possession here. Do Duisburg, and now they play that one out to the left-hand side. They do. Our man there as well, well and truly overruns there. Zizek brings a man down inside the box. Thankfully, no penalty. Was pretty sure that one was going to get blown up. It did look like a pretty solid penalty, so we get away with one there. Now Ziani just outside the box for some reason, playing out on that right wing, cuts inside nicely. Good chance, but unfortunately, that one does come off the base of the post, but we do get a bit of luck there. Did look like a penalty for the opposition, but thankfully still 1-0 up with about 20 minutes left. And just about to enter the last 20 minutes of this game, do probably feel like it's a good idea here to get rid of one of these players with our last substitution, who is on a yellow card, and I think the best player to take off in that situation might be Ricardo Grimm, who did score our goal, which did put us in front, but Weigl can come on for him. That's all our subs used. Still 1-0 up with 20 left. And we are into the last 10 minutes of this game. We've just told our guys to be more disciplined, and hopefully it does mean we can hold on to this lead. But replay here, some nice work. We'll hopefully look to float one into the mixer here, but unfortunately Noel will head that one away. But now Ernesto did have the ball there, does give it away, and it might even be a chance here for the opposition to do something on the counter-attack. They play a ball in behind there, but thankfully that player was well and truly offside, albeit play does continue with him not getting on the end of it. Isadogan there forced into a decent save off the shot from Linnick, but again, he was offside, and it is still 1-0 in our favour as we do start to enter injury time in this game, and we do have a free kick here at the 90-minute mark. Ogbidi picks out Lamptey inside the box. He's on a yellow card, but gets his first goal for the club. Of course, was at the club last season, didn't play because he was on a non-contract with a very high appearance fee. That is not an issue for us this season, and from that set piece, he loops that one over the goalkeeper into the top left corner, and thankfully, we do make the most of playing against 10 men for most of this game, and do pick up a 2-0 win, and that is a very, very relieving result off the back of what did happen off camera with that 5-0 loss coming in to today's episode. Hopefully picks morale back up and could give us a chance in what could be quite a big second game in today's episode, where we could potentially sneak our way back up the table just a little bit. But obviously big moment in that game was the first highlight, second yellow card there for Buckalaws for Duisburg, and it does mean from there we just did enough to pick up a 2-0 win with goals to Ricardo Grimm in the first half and that late one to Mark Lamptey, and it does mean it could even be a top of the table clash in the second one of today's episode, depending on what happens with Dynamo Dresden with their game in hand. We'll come back shortly off the back of an international break and hopefully continue the momentum as we take on Erzgebirge Aue. And we have got through the international break and are back for the second game of today's episode. As you can see, there are a few changes for us. Unfortunately, Search got suspended off the back of that yellow card in the previous game, so it does mean that Mark Lamptey will start at centre-back alongside Eagles. It is also injury to Leon Heinke, so that means Piplica in the DM role. And also Kevin Zek did get injured, nearly fit enough. He could start if we really wanted to, but he will sit on the bench, Ziani in his place. So a few changes, but hopefully we can still pick up from that previous result and continue to get back on track as we have a second versus third clash. And just shy of the 10-minute mark here, first highlight is a free kick in our favour. Owosu looks to put that one far post. Eagles header, big push in the back there, right in front of goal. And this is a perfect chance for us to get off to a good start. It will be Ziani from the penalty spot. Interesting to see what he will be like with penalties, with Sasha Fefa being on them for us last season. But Jamal Ziani gets his first goal of the season. To be fair, neither of our strikers have scored too much this season, but Ziani hasn't actually played that much, but thankfully sends the goalkeeper the wrong way into that right-hand corner. And we are bouncing back well from that 5-0 defeat. We go 1-0 up early in the second versus third clash. And we have to wait until about 10 minutes to go in the first half for our next highlight free kick in our favour. Again, I think Lamptey got his head on the end of that one. That one does come off the top left crossbar, but so far the highlights in our favour, despite the fact this has actually been quite an even game. But thankfully, we did pick up that penalty around about the 10-minute mark, and Ziani did tuck it away. And it does mean we go into the sheds here with a 1-0 lead, albeit might be forced into making one change. Tilgan has been on a red heart for around about the last 10 minutes, and it doesn't look like he has recovered. So I think because of that, we will bring on Dom Brewer in this situation. Ogbidi can do a decent job out there, but we'll just compare the star rating for both those players. Dom Brewer is the one training in that left wing position, so probably the safest substitution. Also, Replay picked up a yellow card. Linus Zimmer will come on for him, so we don't have to have a player there at left back easing off tackles, but so far, fairly happy with how this one is going. We'll get things back underway. 1-0 up in the second versus third clash. And it's only taken a few minutes in the second half for us to get the first highlight of throw in here down our left-hand side, and Zimmer has the ball. Actually does quite well there to take that one away from the player who is putting pressure on him. Now, Eaglezetta has this one, plays that one back to Panzu Ernesto. Ricardo Grimm thought for a minute there we might be getting another second yellow card, but some really nice passing. Ricardo Grimm inside the box will pick up his second goal of today's episode, and for me, that is the best goal that we've scored so far in this episode. Some really good short passing off the back of that throw-in, some good 1-2 work there, and we do slot through Ricardo Grimm, not quite 1-2, because Ernesto and Owosu were also part of that, but that is a really well-built goal, nice and early in the second half, and hopefully 3 more points as we go 2-0 up. And just entering the last 20 minutes of this game, still with that 2-0 lead. Dom Brewer did pick up a yellow card not too long off the back of that second goal, which we did score, but so far this is a bit of helter-skelter in the midfield as teams do try and secure that ball, but the opposition, you will notice I am just saying second versus third clash, because I have no doubt otherwise I would be absolutely butchering their name, having to try and pronounce it a bunch of times during this one, but so far this has been pretty good for us. As I said, was a bit concerned going in to today's episode off the back of that 5-0 loss, but thankfully 2-0 win in that first game, and so far 2-0 up in this one, albeit good chance for the opposition there, but thankfully Issa Dogan does make a save to keep it at 2-0, and while we are here, we'll check on fitness, and Owosu is down to a red heart, so this time Ogbidi can come on for him, but still 2-0 up with just under 20 minutes left. And we're nearly inside the last 5 minutes of this game, still with that quite healthy 2-0 lead, and I do feel like good time for us here to make our last few substitutions. Ricardo Grimm yet again picked up a goal, but is down to a red heart, so as per usual, Julian Weigl can come on for him, and also we might give Zaruba his first bit of game time in a competitive match here at Lokomotive Leipzig. We'll take off Mike Eaglezetta, even though today not actually performing too badly, but we do start to make our way into injury time in this one, and in the end, a reasonably comfortable 2-0 win based on the highlights that we did see, albeit on stats, that was quite an even game, and even then the opposition did actually have more possession than us, but thankfully today got off to a good start with that penalty and grabbed that early goal in the second half through Ricardo Grimm, and those are 2 quite big wins off the back of what has happened since yesterday's episode, plus of course that loss in the second game of that one. We'll just get through the post-match interview. We did play some lovely stuff at times with that second goal scored by Ricardo Grimm, but it does mean we do go 3 points clear of our opposition with that win, and now are firmly in the hunt for promotion this season, albeit still a fair way to go, but we get back on track today with 2 2-0 wins. And back in the inbox off the back of those 2 games in today's episode, 2 very good wins, as I said, off the back of what did happen off camera with that 5-0 loss, so maybe we do play a bit better with that balanced mentality, albeit that first game, little bit hard to tell on that one, of course, because the opposition did go down to 10 men for most of it, but that second game, a good result. The manager of the opposition amazed at the fact they did not get the win out there. That's what happens when you give away penalties, but to be fair, it was quite an even game. Apart from that, probably could have been a draw, but thankfully we do pick up a 2-0 win, and it does mean we do keep ourselves firmly in the hunt for promotion this season, albeit it does look like early, bit of a gap between those top 4 teams and the rest, so hopefully we can maybe go close to promotion this season, even though it wasn't exactly what we were aiming for. Our main aim for this season was just to stay up in this division, but at the very least the start with only those 2 losses so far from these first 13 games should mean that we don't end up in a relegation battle 16 points back to the likes of Preußen Munster and the Dortmund second, so it does look like that team can actually get relegated, but maybe they can't get promoted, is how that works here in the Free League. But I think that will do it for today's episode. 2 good wins there over Duisburg and Erzgebirge Aue. That second one especially, of course, with a few players missing through injuries. If you enjoyed those wins, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. We will come back in tomorrow's episode, and again, we probably won't go too far. We'll just play that one game off camera, taking on RWS and away from home. Currently, those guys are in 13th, and we'll get stuck in to the month of November. Obviously, the game, the big one, we take on top of the table Dynamo Dresden away from home. That could be a tricky affair, but before then, we'll also take on 5th place SV Elversberg at home as well. So 2 tough games, but hopefully we can continue back on track off the back of these 2-0 wins in today's episode. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.
Thought I could do this, life through the sadness. Don't know how I ended up so lost. Sink through the deep end, hurt and defeat.